News this evening is that Rodrigo Bentancur is expected to be sidelined for at least 2.5 months after suffering ankle ligament damage against Aston Villa in that loss on Sunday. Bentancur was making his first start for Spurs since February following a serious knee injury, only for his return to be cut short after he was on the receiving end of a poor first half tackle by Matty Cash. Let's speak to Chris Cowlin from the Spurs Chat podcast. Chris, as I say, the bad news keeps coming for Tottenham at the moment. That's not what you wanted to hear tonight, is it?
Emma, good evening to you. Yeah, absolutely right. We've got 11 players out now, out injured. That is a whole team out injured. Sarr, Van der Ven, Phillips, Solomon, Sessegnon, Perisic, Maddison, Richarlison, Bentancur, Whiteman, Romero suspended for the next game. As I say, a whole team out. But I do really feel for Rodrigo Bentancur, who's an absolutely exceptional player. Spent 8 months out with an ACL injury, and now he's got, he's torn his ligament in his ankle. I really do feel for the player because, as you said, is his first start back. An excellent footballer. We need players like this, but we've got huge problems now in terms of injuries at the football club, and Postecoglou is doing his best. He tried to get the best out of the fringe players at the weekend. We were unlucky not to get a result against Aston Villa. But I've got to say that the tackle from Matty Cash on Bentancur was absolutely atrocious, and he did the same. Another Tottenham player, Matt Doherty, that put him out injured a couple of years back. So there's a lot of unhappy fans, to do with Matty Cash at the moment.
Right, and as you say, as bad as the news is for Tottenham, we also have to think about the player himself and the fact that, as you say, he's only just come back from such a long time out with an injury.
Absolutely. I do really feel sorry for the player. Of course, he recently went on international duty with his country, Uruguay, got some good minutes there, caught up with his international teammates. But this is going to be a bitter blow to a player like this who has spent so long out with an ACL injury. He came back, looked refreshed, looked like he was very hungry again, and he's an exceptional footballer. He was the reason, along with Kulusevski, why Spurs got in the Champions League the last time we played in the competition. And, to rebuild under Postecoglou, we certainly need players like this. But it is a big blow to Postecoglou, a big blow to the player, a big blow to all of the fans. Of course, in January as well, we're going to be missing Basuma and Sarr, who go off to AFCON in January. So it's all now down to the club. The January transfer window is coming up, and I think that Spurs need to do, hell of a lot of business if we want to be playing in Europe next season.
And and that's going to be difficult because the January transfer window is always a tough one, isn't it? Especially if other clubs can see what your team needs.
Absolutely, Emma. But the thing is, at the moment, we've got so many injuries, like I mentioned earlier. December, we've got a lot of players missing. January, we've got the AFCON competition. We're going to have players missing. So, in actual fact, we're not going to be back to playing our preferred starting 11 until February, which is going to be a big blow to Postecoglou. He's trying to get the best out of these players. He's done an exceptional job at the football club since he arrived in the summer. It was all going extremely well after 10 games. We were sitting top of the Premier League table. Everyone was feeling excited, especially after the difficult years that we've had recently. Postecoglou has instilled so much energy into this fan base, and of course it's been sucked away. I know some people say that Tottenham Hotspur are cursed in terms of situations like this, but it is now how we move forward. We've got to try and get back into Europe. We've got to try and do the very, very best, but it's not easy because we face Manchester City, the champions, away on Sunday.
I was going to say, I'm just looking at your fixtures for December, and there are some not that easy games to come, starting with that trip to Manchester City.
Yeah, and the thing is that so far in the season, we used to be playing one game a week. Of course, we haven't been playing European football this season. And then the games now in December are coming thick and fast. 7 games in December in the Premier League. It's going to be an extremely tough month. And of course, the January transfer window doesn't open until the 1st of January. So we've just got to try and get through December in the best possible way we can. But as I say, Postecoglou's doing a magnificent job. And it's now, some of these fringe players, some of these players that haven't had much game time in the last couple of months or indeed in recent seasons, it's about now how they step up and, they've got to give absolutely everything. Some of them are playing for their future as well. So it's about how they step up now and give Postecoglou and the fans the performances.
Chris, thank you very much for your time this evening. Chris Cowlin there from the Spurs Chat podcast, just listing the number of players there, Chris, that are currently missing for Tottenham at the moment. Rodrigo Bentancur sadly added to that list. The confirmation today after he came off with that injury in the defeat against Aston Villa at the weekend that he will be out for 2.5 months, ankle ligament damage. That after only just coming back from a knee injury that had kept him out since February. Of Tottenham, of course, suffering 3 successive league defeats, and they've got a trip to Manchester City to come on Sunday. We will, of course, have commentary of that match on BBC.